The biggest mistake we can make when we have a massive vision is waiting for permission to make it known. If you are connected to your vision, to your purpose, because we all have one, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. In the last episode, which was episode number 10 of my podcast, Heal Your Part, I recorded a video that I did not even watch because I know I would edit it down or probably maybe even get cold feet, where I was announcing my two bold goals. I am going to document this process, maybe with like a weekly video. I haven't quite figured that out, but that's one of the things, by the way, that I'll just mention that gets in my way is having to have more and more understood or thought out or thought through or have a strategy. I mean, I've spent decades learning how to do all these things and being very successful with them, but they can also be the juggernaut, the pain that's holding us back, the challenge. So in this video, I want to share with you the three things that I am going to be leaning into, activating, basically letting be my mantras and my guides as I go through this journey for however long I need to. It might just actually be all the way through. And as I move through the process of this journey, I will be documenting along the way different parts of what I'm learning, what I'm doing, who I'm talking to, the challenges I'm having, probably the hands I'm getting, who knows? Because this is a mission and a movement that has been building inside of me in many ways since I was in high school. And until I got on this entrepreneur journey the last 3 years, I didn't necessarily know exactly how it was meant to come to life. I had iterations in my mind, but recently, the last 2 years have been really telling, and I've claimed it more like with calling my podcast Heal Your Part, which was there's a little teaser. And if you happen to listen to my podcast, episode 10, you know what I'm talking about. That being said, you don't have to watch that or listen to that before you hear this. I just really wanted to hold myself accountable to make this public and to be of service to anyone because I do think the majority of our population are sitting on their dreams because of the way this 3D world has been operating for hundreds of years, of which I believe these younger generations are shifting. So let me get into it. And I want to share briefly that I recorded this entire video yesterday and I was so excited and so enthusiastic. And I hit the button here and didn't know it was red. So I got no sound whatsoever. So if you see me pause or stumble a little bit, it's probably because I maybe get in my head for a moment or trying to think a little bit. But I do have some notes as I did then. And I just wanted to mention that because that's also very real. That's a very real part of being on YouTube, creating content, being on this journey that is so courageous and requires, like, as my mother would say, chutzpah. Okay, so here are the three things that I am going to be relying on, and they kind of are in order, actually, now that I think about it. And the very first one is delusional. Delusional. I actually claimed that word along with bold and unapologetic this year of 2026 as a means of supporting me. I am a Gen X woman who has a lot of conditioning. I'm a mixed race Mexican American woman raised in a single income household. There's so much stuff there that has held me down and back. That's just part of being in this world as we know it. We all have a story. And if you are over 40, you have a lot of programming, likely, that has encouraged you, especially women, to not make yourself important. Or if you did, you were quietly envied and jealous of and or judged because of your boldness, because of your brashness, because of all the ways that women get stereotyped also when they do take those risks, when they do stand out. And really, as a Gen Xer, that's a whole other interesting can of worms. I always felt like I was born a little early, and I absolutely fall into that category in so many ways, and how I've continued to keep delaying in a way that I didn't even realize until earlier this week when I had like a good cry that I didn't even expect another layer of grief over the passing of my mom, who will be gone at the end of July, 2 years. So delusional. And I'm going to share with you what that really means to me and how I'm activating that, because it's not a natural place for me to live in. I'll be honest, everyone that I've ever found online or even met that has that as like kind of a natural state, or at least that's how it appears, I've always been drawn to them. The part of me that has used needing to know or needing to understand as a form of protection and control couldn't ever really quite understand that, but wanted it so bad. So it was actually quite like scary for me, and kind of I had that fear, that Gen X fear of claiming delusional. And I'm like, what the hell? If I really think about it, I have always been delusional. I've always been talking about the things and sharing the things and seeing the world in such a way that was not like most people's, definitely not my age or my generation. So that delusional aspect has been there. So I saw it in them, but I just didn't allow myself to express it in the way. And now I am. So for me, that starts with visualization. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools, not just for manifesting, which I really do believe in. I believe we are energetic beings, and I believe all of that is very, very real. And there's scientific evidence to prove that for any of the naysayers out there. The reason why I bring it up, though, is that it's a very powerful and medicinal practice to have in your life. And actually, there's a lot of, what do you call it? Not just data, and there are a lot of case studies, like athletes. They do this. This is how they create the results that they create, because they see themselves and they project that vision and they do that religiously, and it pays off. Visualization, I will just say one thing about that, because there's so many ways that you can do that, but I want to share with you just a little bit to give you a tangible example. I've had two visualizations that I've now acknowledged have been recurring throughout my life, and one of them is a home. And it got started with, I think, a guided meditation at some point, and then it just continued to build. And this is going back about 10 years. And often when I step into my visualizations, for me, one of them is the way I'm beginning my day. So I'm imagining myself. I mean, I love where I live right now, don't get me wrong. And this has another experience of it. And I go there, and it's the same home. And I just kind of add to it every now and then, the aspects about it. But it's really about seeing yourself. I have one for my TEDx, because I'm on the TEDx journey, and I have a vision that I will steep in on seeing myself on that stage and how I'm impacting the people in the room and how my talk is impacting the world. So visualization is a very, very powerful tool, and it's going to be like my buddy while I'm on this delusional commitment, especially as I bring this vision into life. And I guess I should say what that is, because wow, I just skipped that. See what happens when you have to record something twice, and my notes blew away. Hold on. I'm back. Okay. So I announced in my episode 10 of Heal Your Part, my vision. I announced two bold goals, and one of them was Heal Your Part. That is really not just a podcast. It is a movement, and it is this assignment. Wow, I just had another awareness come through just now. Wow. I have had this assignment, but because of the way that society views healing, because of the fear people tend to have around healing, even though it can create such power and transformation, and there's so many beautiful stories out there, I just recognize that it's time for me to put a stake in the ground and to stop pussyfooting around with it and just go all in. And now that I made that decision and I've broadcasted it, I'm just getting examples all the time. Like, for example, to me, a form of healing is what just happened in New York with the Knicks, and the way the New York City population of people have come together and we're in the streets. Mom Donnie is definitely somebody who is bringing and is like a symbol of healing. There is healing happening all the time. So I am just here to bring this as a movement, to have the dialogue, to highlight how it's happening all over and how it can happen, to take the stigma off, to make it more accessible, to make it more less scary, to show people all of the nuances, because that is what I know is what's in the way of the world. We have a world that is being run by humans, and a lot of the humans here have trauma and pain inside because that is part of the human journey. And as a result of that, going unprocessed, untouched, unhealed, just stuffed down, which a lot of people, I know my mom left this world with stuffed trauma that she went through before she met my father and had me. And that impacted not only my life and my brother's life, it impacted her life. And actually, I really believe it impacted how she left this planet. So that's an example and a case study. So delusional, and I won't get too deeply into Heal Your Part right now because it's going to evolve, and you can watch the episode 10 if you're interested. But I'm going to be talking about this more, and I'm obviously going to be sharing about it more with this journey. And there's other ways that you can connect with me and learn more about it, like a Substack that I will be rolling out. Okay. The other pieces around delusional, the other parts around delusional are inner voice hygiene. And visualization is like my base because that will help me from going into those places of compromise, contracted inner voice. But we have to be the leader of our own lives. And that is always our executive functioning. It's recognizing that the ego speaks first and the ego speaks loudest, and the ego is constantly trying to keep us safe and protected. And as a result of that, it's living in some version of what it believes our life is, but it's not meant to be our board of directors. Our heart is really what should be in charge, and the ego should be in service to that. But that's not how things run here until we change it. But that means that that's a key piece of staying awake. So I've become really conscious recently, and I actually did a video about this, about how my self-talk has been really blocking me because it's rooted in a lot of old story and programming that hasn't been totally healed. And it's also something that comes back up when you push an edge. And I've been definitely standing on the edge of a lot of risk taking in a way that I never have. And I lost my mom and, all kinds of stuff. Life is lifing. So that inner voice hygiene is going to be super, super key. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can check out, maybe I'll link it below that video where I talk about the self-talk, because I share several things that I do to help myself on that. And the last one is gratitude. I am one of those individuals that doesn't have a hard time naturally accessing gratitude. And I have had times in my life where I am grateful here, but I can't feel it. And then I feel stuck because I'm judging myself for not being able to feel it. Like I can't access it, and then I'm making that wrong, and then I'm like judging myself as ungrateful, and like the shame gets poured on. Like how we like that's that inner voice hygiene. Like it just piles on. So I am deeply inspired about this. I know I'm moving in the direction that is my divine assignment, because I wouldn't have so much of this energy that feels like unending for it. That's a sign, by the way. So gratitude is going to be really important, because one of the ways that I have fallen out of gratitude throughout this experience, and I'm just going to out myself and be vulnerable here, is the comparison, like not intending to be, not thinking that I need to be like anybody else, but seeing people kid on, younger people, blonde, blue-eyed people. These are all the stories that I see. People showing parts of their body, people teaching people how to make money. Those are all things that I'm not doing. And it's been really challenging for me to get my business off the ground. But it's not just that. It's just the reality of this whole online space and what it calls out of us. And it's a very human thing to compare. So that's my intention, is just to create the most powerful gratitude, like a new level of gratitude. That is something that I'm making a part of my delusional strategy. All right, I won't take as long for the other ones. So the next one is making it known. That's the scariest part, right? That's like where the cringe can happen. That's where the fear can happen. That's where I'm afraid am I writing this right? Am I saying it right? Like, am I mean, like, that's where it's been blocked because that's where so much of this, the talk and the conditioning of the world, absolutely, because of the way the world thinks about mental health or even healing, or how even perfectly empowered people that I know that have skills are still running from their feelings because they don't know how to uh, heal them, or they don't know how to address them, or they're just part of this society that has had this. If we had been taught this, if we had been taught more about ourselves, our physiology, our psychology, our biology, how our brain works, if we had been taught all that like normal subjects, we would not be in this place. So that's the reality. It's not a deficiency in any person. It's part of the human race that we are all living in, that we were born into, that we have the opportunity to shift. And there have been a lot of, I mean, we see all these things, like whether it's technology or an innovation or new thoughts. I mean, thought leaders, all that is coming through people. Those are assignments to up level, to upgrade, to update consciousness. So for me, it was assigned. And that little thing I said earlier, like I just had another download. I spent 4 years at a healthcare system that I was hired into 3 months before the pandemic started. I had never worked in a hospital before. And it might sound like duh, but I just made that connection of like this healing thing, because my job was the mental health and well-being of 2,200 healthcare workers in South Los Angeles. It's just, yes, okay, got it. So sharing it, I'm announcing it. I'm going to be putting it on social. I'm going to be making it. Basically, you're probably going to get sick of hearing about it. But my challenge will be to continue to create through it and with it, and for it to be a dialogue. I feel like I'm the conduit, I'm the vessel, I'm the leader, and I have all those abilities, if you will. But this is not something that I'm authoring all by myself. I just know that my job is to stand in it, take aligned action, be courageous, and keep getting up. There is a Japanese proverb, Nana korobi ya oki. Nana korobi ya oki. And it means fall down 7, get up 8. Maybe you've heard it before. Fun fact, I studied Japanese in college and I lived in Japan for a year teaching English on the JET program. More on that another time. Okay, I am going to work. I have a dear friend who has had a career in public relations, and she's dropped this before, but it's one of those things of like not feeling ready. And I don't even know what that entails, but I am absolutely going to move towards her and start talking about a press release. And I see this having a nonprofit arm. I see this being a movement that has merch. I see this having legs, that is a dialogue and a conversation, a hashtag, whatever it needs. But it's about bringing this in and bringing forward, just like I shared with you, these videos that have been coming up around the Knicks is a perfect example. The home game of World Cup in Mexico was like a healing event for Mexico. Like, this is something that I want us to acknowledge, because it can shift things when we notice, because it's the mind that unconsciously created where we're at. Whether it was we made decisions about what things mean and now that lives in us as a blueprint and we don't know that we can update it, or it's the way we're constantly building on that because the brain is trying to predict what it already thinks it knows, right? So that's where, like, that reticular activating system, when you buy a car and then all of a sudden you see that car everywhere, it's because your brain is trying to now it's seeing what it already is looking for. And that's how it works. So the same thing is with our beliefs and our way of being. If we don't know that we can change it, if we don't update it, then it's going to keep creating. We're going to try to prove our own beliefs again and again and again, even if those beliefs are not serving us, let alone if you're in a position of power and they're impacting everything you do. That's a whole other video. That's a little teaser on my TED Talk. So it's my message I have here everywhere. It's going to be happening everywhere. Okay. And this is, I kind of alluded to this already, but it's invite. So delusional, making it known, and invite. And this is where I will be reaching out. This is where I will be having to work through my core wound, which is rejection. This is where, because I have felt for most of my life that the the world doesn't really understand me, or I was born too early, or whatever. Like that's been my experience. And I also happen to like live in a home where my dad was a musician and I had to say goodbye to him. I mean, those are all things I believe happen for our own growth. And I chose this life, but that has been one of my core wounds is rejection. So inviting, it's going to be about that. And it's because it's not going to be about my core wound or my ego. It's going to be about coming into a place of self-actualization and recognizing that I am here to lead this. And my job is to take aligned action. And my job is to lean into where the inspiration is like boop, 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 because it happens. As soon as I stepped into this and started kind of letting it come through, I keep getting these downloads, or I see something or hear something. I'm trying to make sure I'm organized and just collecting my notes and my ideas. Excuse me. So this is about engagement. This is about experiences and inviting people. This is about inviting people in conversation. This is about podcast interviews. This is going to be a talk show. That's my ideal scene. I mean, I've always wanted a talk show. This may be the best way to do it. And I'll do it myself until it has its own legs and I'm invited to syndicate it. I mean, right? And it's also about reaching out to people and finding ways to do that in a way that allows me to articulate it so that it lands. And as I'm saying that right now, one of the things I'm hearing is my work is going to be not to overcomplicate it, not to overproduce, not to overthink it, which is really has been in the past standard operating procedure for Jennifer Herrera, Gen X, Virgo, Sun, Capricorn rising. And yeah, but I'm really clear, like I am in service to this. I am deeply grateful. And this whole entrepreneurial path, although I do have absolute intentions of creating 7, 8 figure if the universe and God should have it, I'm very ambitious that way. That's never not been on the table. And it's never been about me making my personal mark. I would love a talk show, I'm not going to lie. But that's still never been about me and my name. It's about the conversation that I want to have. It's about the curiosity. And this endeavor is about really about that first part, the delusional, so that fear, those parts of the ego, all that programming doesn't stop me, does not get the last word. And I have a lot of evidence now in the last couple of years because I've put myself out there in ways I never have. So I'm going to keep going. But I'm going to invite you to be my accountability buddy. I'm going to invite you to be my encourager. I'm going to invite you to let this be the inspiration for you and to share with me and to share with everyone here. What is your mission? What are you working on? What are you waiting for? Like share your humanity because it is courageous. And most of us don't have lives set up to be able to do this. I am teetering in many ways. I'm on an edge here. So I don't have a benefactor. I don't have a partner who's paying the bills. I don't have a mom who's alive. There is no backup plan. There is no trust fund. Hopefully there will eventually be seed money and who knows what will happen there. But I believe if this is intended the way that I sense it has and how it's been living within me since 2017 and continuously evolved and unfolded and clarified itself, I believe that will all come forward. And my job will be to stand in my discernment, in my radiant health and well-being, in my aligned consciousness so that I can be the best steward ever, knowing that I'm going to stumble and fall, of course, because that's part of being a human being. So those are the 3 things. Delusional is where it's at, making it known, and invitation, inviting, engagement and inviting. So this is what's going on. I don't exactly know how I will be documenting it, and that is my intention. It's essentially me bringing a movement to fruition. Eventually, my ideal scene is that I find somebody who's going to do this with me, meaning like shooting the video and the editing and telling the story at some point, because that's not my first skill. And of course, collaborators will be a part of this. And I hope this serves you in some way. And I also I invite you with my whole heart and my gratitude to be on this journey with me and to let this be your kickstart, your little fire, your encouragement, your remembrance of why you are here. If you're new to me, my name is Jennifer, and I am here every day to remind you that your truth is your power. So trust yourself and watch your life transform. I'll see you tomorrow.